Okay, so I'm here with John and Hasan, and we all played Cinderella Girls today, and we all played very similar, like blue-based builds. So we're gonna go over the similarities and the differences, and what we thought went well today, what we thought didn't go so well. Just let me introduce everybody. We got John Force on the left.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And we got Hasan on my right.
I suck at the game, but hi.
And so yeah, first thing, let's just take a look at the three builds. So we're gonna have them all up on your screen right there. And first thing that we notice about all three builds in terms of similarities is that we're all running Ranko, we're all running Anya, and we're all running Minami Climax combo, the Minami level 1 for the Anya obviously, and we're all running really, like, I guess arguably staple level zeros. Like, we're all running the Runner, and we're all running Miria. And apart from that, oh, and we're all also running the Clock Encore 1-1. So that's some stuff that I guess we can all agree on is just really solid for the build, and just kind of brings it together. Now we look into the deviations a little bit. At level 3, we have John playing 2 copies of the Curari level 3, the yellow one. So what did you think of that card today, John?
When I drew it, it did its job. Round 2 and round 3, it became really relevant. I put the effect on Ranko, and she got the ability to on attack cancel if your opponent cancel burns, obviously. So it was really like optimal just because it's like another finisher. It's kind of like a backup. Because sometimes I found myself, like, if I don't hold on to the book, like, early level 2, I sometimes don't draw it. So it's just a good backup. And you're playing yellow already, so I kind of figured, like, oh, why not just throw it in? Because, like, you don't have other really...
Did you find yourself having, like, an adequate amount of stock to use for using her other ability to give another character a cancel burn, or was that a problem?
Depending on the tempo of the game, and how, like, you progress in the game state, it just all depends. Like, there are games like where I ended up at level 3 with like 12 stock, or there's other games like where I end up at level 3 with only 4 stock. It's just how how people like dictate the pace of the game and stuff, and how like you grind it out and stuff. Like, I usually had it normally, like, in a clean, consistent game, I normally pulled it off. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look at something from Hasan's list. So he had the most deviation out of all three of us in the level 1 game. He chose to go with the 1-0 Konako level 1 Suicider, as well as 3 copies of the 1-1 Uzuki event from the trial deck. So what were your thoughts on how those cards did today, and like what role do you think they played in the deck?
I felt like the 1-0 Suicider was probably one of the more interesting cards, simply because I was... In a lot of my matchups, especially against Nisekoi, which I won both, I was able to use it to simply deny the 1-0 combo. Like, you just ram it in, and it's suicide, it's gone. They can't really plus off of it. And the 1-1 event, the reason I picked the 1-1 event over, like, any other stable choice that I could have gone with was simply because I wanted to streamline the deck's win condition, which was to mill the deck as often as possible and out damage the opponent, and then at level 3 just summon a bunch of level 3s, and just being able to grab them whenever you want was really critical for me in a lot of my games. So, like, I have a lot of cards where I mill. I have multiple Brainstormers, I have the Mill Runner, and it just fed the engine more. It just fed the toolbox more.
Okay, so with that sort of game plan in mind, what's your thought on level 0 Uzuki, the double rare? Because she does mill 2 on play, and she is fat, and she is also red, which helps you color fix for your 1-1 event possibly.
I don't play it because my friend's using it.
Oh, is that okay? So you would you play it though if you had it?
Yeah, I would definitely play it. Okay.
Now going on to my build. So a couple cards that I was running that the others weren't. I was actually the only one out of all three of us that was running the 1-0 Saya counter. And I was also the only one out of all three of us running the 2-1 Stamina Drink. So the reasoning behind that, the Stamina Drink, I feel is a really versatile card. It's useful against things like Restanders, Clock Shooters at the level 3 game, or if I'm against a deck that doesn't necessarily run those sort of finishers. Like, let's say they're just running like a burn-based finisher or something like that. I can use it to salvage my finishers either to like go for a finishing turn, or let's say I go through my first wave of attacks at level 3, and then they kill my level 3s, I can get my level 3s back and then do it all over again, or at least try to do it all over again. I remember in my game versus Hasan, I used it to pull a third Ronco from my waiting room, and that kind of like wrecked him. As for the 1-0 Saya counter, I felt that it comboed really well with the level 0 Anya, which is global 500, and when you use a startup ability, you give 500 to a character. So having a 1-0 2K counter on top of giving 500 from a startup, because the backup is a startup, it's basically a 1-0 2500 counter, and I feel like having access to something that's no cost and gives that much power is really cool for the level 1 game. Now also in the level 1, John decided to run one copy of the Mizuki counter, which is less power and it's on a 1-1, but it lets you check the top card of your deck and either leave it on top or send it to the bottom of the deck, if I'm not mistaken. So what was your opinion on that? Did it do well? Just what were your overall thoughts?
Looking at the grade 1 lineup, I really needed a 1-0 punch, or a 1-1 punch. Like, I chose the blue one just because I run 4 Rin, Shibuya, Azusa clones. So that's kind of like my thought process of playing that. But the red counter is really good. Like, looking at all the builds, it just gives me more like ideas and stuff of like what I want to put in the deck. But there's just like a lot of cards, so there's just a lot of play testing to come and stuff. Because I'm playing one of each Brainstormer too, because I didn't know which one like was probably like the most optimal. But I found that salvaging is like a really, really, really key component with Cinderella Girls, just because like it's really hard to fetch something from waiting room because they don't have a pay one, drop one, salvage one. You know what I mean? And like
that's also kind of part of the reason why I run the 2-1 salvage, the 2-1 event, because that lets you salvage as well if you need to.
Hasan's 1-1 event too is like really, it's really eye-opening. Like, I probably should play that card. That card's really, really good. Like, probably a 1 or 2 of is what I'm thinking of right now.
Okay. Okay, taking a look at some of the other stuff. Let's move on to, like, I guess the level 0s. So apart from John's choice of running one of each Brainstormers, I stuck to the salvage one. Hasan played 2 of the salvage and 2 of the Irie. So apart from just the Conoco being just a solid Brainstormer, I know apart from the Brainstorm for the Irie, you had another reason that you like to run it, and it has to do with that lone copy of the +2 soul there on the bottom. So why don't you tell the people about your fun little reason why you ran that?
So ideally, like with Irie, she is like part of the deck's win condition simply because she pumps a character based on the soul of that character. So you get to level 3 and you summon an Anastasia, you summon the Anya, and you summon the Irie, and then you slam down a +2 soul, and suddenly like you're giving this Anya 4K out of nowhere, and she's swinging for 4 damage, and you're just trying to pressure out as much damage as you can, but in retrospect, like there's a lot of other applications for it because she's also a spammable Brainstormer, and also because she enables the 1-0 combo to go off more consistently, just by being able to side attack for 1 or side attack for like 2 if you trigger, and then like give 2K before you actually get the combo off, and then when you get the combo off, it just turns into the whole board wipe.
Okay, and moving on in a little bit more zero tech. So we all chose to run the level 0 Rin from the trial deck. That's something that I think we can all agree was a pretty good pickup. John was the only one who ran the Azusa Rins, and Hasan and I chose to run the level 0 Yuki, which lets you swap climaxes and also gives a 2K buff. So personally, I think that card's really good. Thanks to Mike Chang for that idea. But Hasan, what were your thoughts on that card? Did it help out?
It was really good. Like, I don't really think in one of my games against Nisekoi, my opponent was like, he just like triggered 2 climaxes, and I had a book in hand, and then I just like dropped the Yuki and then traded it for a +2 soul and 1.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was really brutal. Like, yeah, the text +2 soul actually like came out a lot more often than I thought. And it was a lot, like just being able to have it in your hand and know that you can just pressure damage instantly, and then it doesn't hurt as much because you have a card that literally swaps out climaxes for you. So like if you don't like it, then just trade it out for a book or another pants or whatever, and then just move on. And it's also part of the reason why I played the 1-1 event, like just being able to just grab whatever you want.
All right. So I think that covers just about everything. A lot of the other stuff were the same. We all chose to run 4 copies of that pants climax for the 1-0, very important. And our other climax obviously was the book for the Ronco. Do you guys have any like questions for each other or for me regarding like card choices or like reasoning behind them? You guys can go ahead and just like shout out.
So I have a question. So why 3 counters?
So the reason I chose 3 counters was because I felt like one of them usually ended up in damage. Personal preference, this is like, I guess, my play style sort of thing, is that when I'm using something like a salvage brainstorm, which I'm running the Conoco one, I typically won't be searching for the counter. I'll typically be searching, or salvaging rather. I would typically be salvaging beat sticks, so primarily Minami if I have the climax, and if I don't, then the other Minami, the 1-0 that gains 500 for every character, and that sort of thing. And I guess the 1-0 counters weren't so much a priority for the way I was playing the deck. Rather, I felt it was something like if I hit it off the Minami 1-0 climax combo, then like okay, I can grab it, I can play it on my next turn, defend my stuff. But if I don't grab it, then I'll be grabbing another attacker, which I can play on the next turn and kill their stuff, sort of thing.
Okay.
Anything from you, John? Oh, John, you were running the Conoco counter, so the heal counter. What were your thoughts on the heal counter today?
Okay, so the whole tournament, I think round 3, I realized I was like, I have never drawn this card or held on to it, and I was just like an empty slot, and I was thinking of like, why am I playing this card? Because like on paper, the card is really, really good. Like in my
original, it's Jupiter.
Yeah, it's Jupiter.
The card is Jupiter.
Yeah,
I mean, like Jupiter's not a bad
like
card.
In my regular IMAS deck, just regular Idolmaster, I run 1 Jupiter just to tech it. I usually draw that one more than I drew these 2. These like just ended up being in the waiting room or like in clock, just like not in my hand ever. So it was kind of like playing with 2 blank slots. So I'm probably gonna take them out probably for either the 1-1 red event, but I'm gonna have to switch it up because like I need to fit more red in there. But I'm probably gonna switch it up for that 2-1 event that Randall's playing. That card's really interesting. Yeah. The event, yeah.
I just really like the versatility of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess as a last remark, since we all did play in tournament today, was there any matchup that you guys thought was particularly more difficult than the rest besides Attack on Titan? Because John and I both got destroyed by, well, it wasn't really destroyed. Like mine was a really close game. What was yours?
There was a point in the game where my opponent was at 3-3, and I triggered lethal for 4 twice, and he canceled on both. That's just Weiss Schwarz for you. I can't really like complain about that, but Attack on Titan as a set is just really, it's pretty strong.
I'd say it's a pretty solid set, and I think is the fact that it's getting some top spots in like American or like English format tournaments rather is definitely a testament to how solid that set is. Even though like a lot of people are like, it's Attack on Titan, it's like people hate on it because it's Attack on Titan, but from a card game standpoint, the set is pretty strong. Hasan, were there any matchups that you felt today were kind of troublesome? I know you hate the mirror, and you played against me for the mirror.
So
the mirror's cancer?
Yeah, the mirror is absolute cancer. Like it is literally like a chicken. It is like a game of chicken to see who's gonna get the combo off, and if you get the combo off, you can be in a really good position. Unless you like mill a bunch of climaxes, and then at that point it's just RNG, and then you just die. Or like, and it also can come down to simply just like who opens better, because like if you don't open the runner, you don't open an answer to the runner, if your opponent opens it, like you're in a really bad spot. And then when it comes to any other variation of the mirror, like another game I lost to was actually against the Miku build today, simply because like he just spams stock soul and out compressed the crap out of me, and then by the time I hit level 3, I'm looking at his like 6 stock and I'm like, oh, he's just gonna 2-3 counter me.
And just for reference, for those of you who are unfamiliar, we're talking about the Miku. We're talking about the Miku from Cinderella Girls, right? We're not talking about the Project Diva Miku.
Yeah, it's Miku from Cinderella Girls, not the Project Diva. Like, I honestly felt like a lot of my matchups could have easily been won if I had just played a little differently, or if I had just done something different. Except maybe my mirror against Randall, because I drew.
Yeah, against me, there was really nothing he could do. I think I hit you from like 2-5 the game or something, or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I refreshed with 3 climaxes in hand, and then my second refresh, like I tried so hard to get those out, and then ended up getting more in hand by my second refresh. So by the end of the game, I still had 3 climaxes in hand, and I was like, man, what? Like, I tried so hard, and then they just, like, the +2 soul sat in my hand for most of the game, especially after I got rid of it, and then it somehow came back into my hand after my refresh. I was just so frustrated.
All right, there you have it, guys. This has been a cool little blue Cinderella Girls discussion. Obviously, there's some room for tech in yellow and red, but the deck, at least the way the 3 of us have been playing it, is mainly blue. You got that Ronko Anya finisher, you got that level 1 Minami Climax combo. But as you can see, there's definitely a lot of room for different options. Mainly in the level 0 game, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. So, hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Peshcats here with John and Hasan, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.